What's up everyone, welcome to my shop. I'm Nick and today I wanted to answer everybody's question all at once. We're gonna go through my tools with a little bit of a shop tour, and I wanted to explain where I started, what I have now, and what's on my wish list. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks for coming. On a big scale, we've got a few different segments of the shop. This is 2-car, 400 square feet, and it's fully insulated. I have a dehumidifier and an AC to maintain relative humidity at about 50% throughout the year, even though I'm in Portland. And I've got a lot packed into 400 square feet. So on this side of the shop, I have kind of the rough lumber breakdown area. It's kind of the dustier, nastier part of the shop. And it's as far away from this side of the shop, which is my finish, sanding, which I use a Festival extractor, pretty dust-free, and glue ups on this side. And then centrally, we've got everything hand tool, Roubo Workbench, and kind of my fit and finesse station here in the middle. This is my second bandsaw. The first one I started with was a Grizzly 14-inch. It was a great hobby machine and an absolute piece of garbage as soon as I started doing commercial stuff. Just didn't have the horsepower. So this runs on a 1 horsepower ball door motor. And I would say it's at least 3 times the power that the Grizzly bandsaw I started with was. American cast iron horsepower is definitely more than what Chinese tools advertise. Moving on, we've got lumber racks. This is all my dry lumber storage. I bring everything in about 2 to 3 weeks before getting started on working on a project. That'll just allow the humidity to even out, so when I do go to resaw, those are going to really work a lot easier with less crazy swings as they come to the shop humidity. This is the chop saw that I started with. It is a Ryobi and it is awesome for what it does. I break down rough lumber. I don't do any mitering on the miter saw. It's basically just rough lumber and it's awesome. In this corner, I think dust collection might be one of the #1 questions I get. So this is the Grizzly 2 horsepower canister dust collector. It's my second one. I started with a Jet 1 horsepower, the like bag kind that you slap and all the dust comes out. And that was like 5 micron, I think, filtration. Not the best, but better than nothing. This kind of falls in that category too. It's hard piped with 4-inch pipes on 2 legs to all my machines. And it picks up most of the dust. For the router table, I started with a Ryobi and it was like an all-in-one unit. I don't even know what horsepower it was. This is a Bosch 2 1/4 horse and I'm using a Jessam Master Lift 2, I think. And it works really well. I've been, no complaints on that. The fence I made myself, it looks really cool and it is totally worthless. I'd recommend also buying or making one out of extruded aluminum. I made the cabinet. As for storage, on the side I've got all my 1/4-inch inserts, plates, bearings, and all my 1/2-inch, well, some of my 1/2-inch bits. The rest are over at the Panto Router. And some more routers. I've got some more somewhere else too. Never have enough routers, you know? And this side is shit that I don't know what to do with, but it needs a place, so. Well, while we're here, I get a lot of questions on this as well. This gold-topped table saw I had dipped in 24 karat because I'm a baller. No, it is coated in titanium nitride by Harvey. Harvey is the OEM manufacturer for other brands such as Powermatic, and they did the first series of Saw Stop, solid cast iron. It's been a great saw There's been a few like minor problems, but all in all, full disclosure, they did send this to me as, I guess, a pre-release at a discount for some video work. I reached out to them, they didn't reach out to me. I only reach out to companies that I want to work with because I like their products, and I like Powermatic and Laguna and SawStop. So it's a great saw. The one part about this that I think really sets it apart is the European style L fence. So just a couple twists of the knob. I'm not old enough to know, but evidently this is a lot like the Delta Unisaw fence. So you got a high-low fence. It's all extruded, and kind of a safety feature here. You can set it at the, it works so well. User error, I'm sure. You can set it at the blade so you're not having any pressure past the cutting point, which is a very European style. I found that it's really useful for things such as table saw jigs. One that I made that I like to share with anyone who gets this saw is this fence. It's just got a channel built into it and a stop in the back. And in the high fence position, it slips right over as long as you tighten your fence down, and locks in place for kind of a, I guess, Biesmeyer style, if you like that. So you can just hook something over and slide it along for jigs, different fixtures. Let's see, I had custom knobs made, but we'll get to that when we get to the Roubo. And for saw blades, I made this little cabinet, and I've got kind of a blade till here, cheap dado stack, and I've got a couple forest blades. I run their #1 grind Woodworker 2. I've got the Woodworker 2 in a thin kerf at a custom grind for my dovetails. Non-ferrous, and then a damper in case I'm having any vibration problems. What else? Oh, it came with a really cool miter fence. I never had one of those before that actually worked. This one is great and it works really well. Microjig sent this to me and I need to use it. Seems nice. Handy for like thin rips. And then a bunch of inserts I made for different tilts. I started with a Bosch table saw, contractor saw, and I had that up until like a year ago. And that was a really limiting factor. It's crazy how much quieter and how much more you can do with a quality cast iron actual cabinet saw. But that one worked. I just had to do a little more finessing by hand. This one's super dead accurate, quiet, lots of power. And this beast right here is A326. It is the helical combo jointer and planer. So the one thing I was worried about when I got this was that the beds are really short. So they talked me into getting these aluminum extensions. They're great as long as you don't put any weight on them, which kind of defeats the purpose. Jury's still out on those. It's been like 6 months that I've had them. I still don't know if I like them, but they're better than nothing. And for switchover, see all those beautiful helical heads. I got this used actually. The guy who had this was still on the #1 side. Those carbide cutters actually just last forever. It's a like 2014 model. At this time it's 2021, so they were still not dull. I switched them just because I want to feel what sharp felt like, but yeah. Magport, I bought these. They were not given to me on recommendation from a buddy, and it makes the switch over super nice and easy. This actually goes behind. Now it's ready. This sled actually came with it, and it's a brilliant idea, and I get questions on it all the time. It's just a 4-inch lift with a very low coefficient of drag, with a very low frictional coefficient, veneered to the top, so you just slide it in. Great for veneers, and makes this switch over a lot faster because you don't have to crank it. The gear drive on it's kind of slow. I actually didn't start with anything. Then I got a benchtop joiner as a big heaping pile of worthlessness. Don't get one of those. I then moved into a like 60s Delta, and it was a 6-inch, worked great. The 10-inch capacity on the A326 is amazing, but I don't think you really need it. The straight knives were kind of a pain to sharpen on a commercial level, so the helical head is just really something I wanted to move into. Moving over here, we've got my first workbench. This is just a torsion box, so it's got a honeycomb grid inside, which is sandwiched by MDF, and it's great flat reference surface. I've got this cutting mat on here for veneers, and below I have all of my like hand power tools. Festool, I've got the Domino, the DF500, 10 out of 10 recommend. Started with a biscuit joiner, and biscuits are not loose tenons. They're like, I don't know, not as good. I've got the Rotex, which I hardly use anymore. That's what I started with. And I guess I started with a Bosch, and then I moved to the Rotex because it's advertised as an all-in-one. Like, it has the rotary and fine sanding modes, but I found it to be a little too coarse for getting a really fine finish, and it is a beast to handle. So I moved to the ETS EC 150, and that is their 3mm stroke. That gives a beautiful finish. It's wonderful to use. I have a TS55 track saw, which I also do not recommend. Get the big one. It's gutless. This is the Cheater's Paradise right here. The Panto Router, on a commercial level, trying to get joinery together. I don't know how I made money before this, doing everything by hand. Beautiful joinery machine, definitely check them out. And I would recommend this for anybody looking to get into the business. It's great. Got my old toolbox, which I have tools in. Bits and stuff and hardware. That's all just storage. I used to keep clamps up here. Now I've got them beautifully displayed underneath because I got tired of turning around to grab clamps. And Rigid, which is a marketing sponsor partner of mine, sent out their subcompact drills, which I have loved. I started with Ryobi. My first drill press was a Craftsman. The cast iron had some defects in it. The table ended up breaking. I got it brazed, but never quite registered squarely. This thing's been awesome. I wish it had a laser, but that would be my only complaint. And then I've got all my finished stuff in this cabinet below this torsion box, and the newest addition to the shop is the vacuum press. It is amazingly built. The bag is a 30mm vinyl, which it'll vacuum out some pretty complex curves. I've got this that I'm working on here. The pressing power is 1,800 pounds per square foot, and that's my dog Hunter. The mesh, I've got the VacuPress 300 compact, and the mesh just distributes as it sucks down, so there's no seals made over the top of any piece. The platen here that it sets on, it's all waxed, and the grooves are set in just to distribute the air throughout the bag. It's a 4 foot by 4 foot bag because it's a small shop. Eventually, when I need it, I'll get a longer one for like rockers on rocking chairs. Really fun machine. I'm having a blast. I've used it on one project so far, and it's just been a lot of fun to use. We're ready to move on to the hand tools. First things first, I guess, is the Roubo Workbench. I built that, I guess, 1 year ago, and I finished it in April of 2020. And everything, all the joineries, hand fit. It has been an amazing addition to the shop. It has all bench crafted hardware. A few of the dogs are the Veritas Prairie dogs, which I really like in the dolly for the tail vise, and they're just kind of low profile. I had the custom knobs made just to make it my own, and bench crafted for the Moxon back here. This is my joinery bench. It's set a little higher for better ergonomics for sawing joinery. And we've got a saw till. I started with a Veritas dovetail saw, and it cuts some really nice dovetails, and it's really ugly. So then I was gifted the Bad Axe Stiletto 12-inch in cherry. It is a beautiful saw. The design for this was inspired by Ryan Cheney, RC, Mountaintop Joiner Shop. Go check him out on Instagram. He's a good guy. And then Lee Nielsen for my cross-cutting saw, and the Flow Rip for my tenon saw. The Flow Rip I found to have a really uncomfortable tote on it. Could have just been me. Seems like everybody else is fine with them. Marking knife is just a piece of 1/4 inch hardened stainless or hardened tool steel, ground down. And these are the best flush cut saws. They are by Wear Safety Goggles. No, that's not the maker. They're Japanese. I think I got it at Rockler or something. And the new Concepts fret saw, plain till, smoothers, slow angle, block joiner, router. I've got a scraper plane and a few spoke shaves here, calipers, all my squares here. That is my rabbit. Nope, not rabbit. Shoulder plane, that's what it's called. And then the wonderful chisel drawer. Started with the Narex. They're great. I still like them they're a little more forgiving. I've got Lee Nielsen for the mortising chisels, as well as the fishtail. That's one that I would definitely recommend anybody get as they're getting into it. It's handy for getting into little tricky spots. And then the Japanese chisels are something that I get questions on all the time. They're Iori Umeki Ori Nomi. They're from Tools for Working Wood. They are blue steel. They chip if you're not using perfect technique, but they get very sharp and they will stay very sharp. Part of the laminating process there. For marking knives, I have a Tight Mark knockoff, a dual bevel by Veritas. That's probably my favorite. And then I have another knockoff and another knockoff. One drawer down is more like filing. So I started with these Narex rasps. didn't love them. They're great for like coarse removal, but not maybe the most refined tools. So I moved into the Roubo. This is the 10-inch cabinet maker's rasp in a 9 grain. These are all hand stitched. What are those called? They're all hand stitched. And then I've got the modeler's rasp, and they do an amazing job. Handmade in Italy. And besides that, I think all that I've missed is the photography stuff, and that's really of interest to people who are interested in doing content, which not everybody is. Let me know down below if that's something you'd like to see, but that's my shop, and thanks for joining. Feel free to ask any questions down below. I'm happy to answer. See you next time.